This is a quick review of AASoft's OrgChart app on the Microsoft Store. As always, I'll move fast, pointing out what looks like a positive and what looks like a concern. My goal is to be as candid as I am with my own team, helping you evaluate this app. Let's go ahead and get started. You can see I'm here on the Microsoft Store's page for AA app, and the first thing I like when I look in here is I see a lot of content that is describing some of the features, how to use it. That's handy. I like that, where they're not just dropping an app. They have some pretty good stuff. Down here I noticed that they have a user guide. I'm going to go ahead and copy that, and we'll go to that in a minute. So this looks pretty handy. I'm not going to really dwell on screenshots since I'm going to go in there. Something else I look at is just scrolling down. I really don't like it when I see free, because that's not true. Generally it's free evaluation copy, and then you have to buy it. So why not put the actual price so we can all see? That would be much more transparent. Anyways, coming down, next thing I look for is the versions. I noticed this is just 1.2. Not too many updates, especially since it was dumped in 2016 and over a year ago. I've seen versions where it's like .300 plus, and to me that tells me they were listening to users, identifying bugs themselves, or seeing interactions with Microsoft updates and making updates to their app. This app clearly doesn't look like it had many updates, so that one's kind of a concern to me. And I just so you know, I never pay attention to legal, because that's all Microsoft's legal documentation, not the publisher. Support, if you notice down in the bottom left, I'm looking for their URL. There's no support URL, it's just taking to the page. But with the user guide, I think we're kind of fine there. The next thing I look for on the Microsoft page, the App Store page, is the stars. You see it's got 3 stars with 19 reviews. Keep in mind, that's just the number of people who give it stars ratings, but it's not the number of reviews. So if we click on reviews, we'll notice there's 7 in here. And if we add the stars up, we've basically got about 13 stars. So let's say it's 14. If you divide 14 by 2, you're getting an average of 2 stars, not 3 stars. And I'm curious, if you get rid of the 5 and the 1, which are the 2 lowest, and you count them up, you got 1, 2, 3, 6, 7 divided by 5. So it's like more like 1.5 stars when you think of it that way. So take that in a grain of salt. But one thing I do see that's kind of standard here is that the ratings don't look too good. It doesn't work for me. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Those are big concerns. We're going to figure it out in a second. On this particular one, I can tell you I've already kind of loaded it and tried it, so it works. I'm not quite sure what these guys are running into, but often it's environmental issues on an app that works. I generally don't think we're going to ever find an app that doesn't work. It's more about just whether the quality of the app is there or not. So anyways, read this later on your own time. I'm going to go ahead now to my site collection, where I've already installed all the org charts that I'm going to be demoing. And in this particular case, I know the one I want to go to is organization chart. And it's funny, a lot of them have the same names. But let's go ahead and click on that. One thing, sorry, before I get there, you'll notice the green stars. I'm new on this channel doing the reviews, and so I went into a couple of these already, but pretty soon I'm only going to go into them with you. That way you can see what the experience is from the minute the app is added to the site collection or site. So in this case, you don't really need to see me downloading the app and putting it in here, because that's all straightforward. But it would be nice for you to see the experience the same, and I'll make sure I do that. Click on this now, and we'll come on in. First thing I notice is it's evaluation copy, and that's fine, but it clearly means it's not free, right? You can't use this in any kind of production way, so that would make it free. It's more of an evaluation, so there's a big difference between free and evaluation as far as I'm concerned. I notice that I don't see anything, and I think that partly is because I was not here before, so let's go ahead and put somebody I know who was in here. David Bryant there. David Bryant. I'm going to get the chart. I don't want to do these guys kind of a bad vibe. When I showed up the first time, this is what it looked like for us. This is what it looked like. So it looks pretty clean. Typical org chart, you see that. But I always start at the top left, and I work my way down to the bottom right when I'm trying to understand or evaluate something. Very first thing I notice is that the sweep bar is hosed. It's really just a bug in there that is taking If you come back to the main SharePoint site on the waffle iron, you'll see all these tiles. all they did is somehow did something that created a bug that threw them all displayed as links across the top. That's an easy fix for them to find that bug and update this on the Microsoft Store. So I'm hoping they hear this review and do that. Coming down, the rest of this is kind of fine. I'm not really going to be overly critical on the graphical design because I'm not a graphic designer. But I do like how you got a basic picture and people's names. This ellipse has a tool tip. I love that. I love it when developers do that. So here you can see that it's got some metadata for the user. That's really handy. So you can quickly see people's relationship. But if you want to find out where Linda is or how to call her, here's contact information. It would be nice if these things were actually hyperlinked. So I could click on it, for example, and send her an email. So keep that in mind, AASoft. You notice that the search bar works. I already did that, so that was pretty handy. I noticed these arrows down. Okay, so it allows me to collapse different people's direct reports and collapse them up under. That makes it cleaner, and that's fine, especially as you're trying to go into certain people. When you have an org chart that has hundreds or thousands of people, it would get in there. Coming across, looking at some of their tools, they've got zoom. Okay, zoom in. That makes sense. You zoom in that way. And then zoom out. And zooming out, I would have expected to see more levels be displayed. So clearly they don't allow that to happen. It would be great if they did, but they don't. So that's zoom functionality, and this next one is reset zoom. So okay, that's pretty cool. It just brings it all back to standard size that you had. And before I get to the settings one, which I'm assuming that is, let's go ahead and click on the help and see what we got. So by clicking on the help, I get this little blurb down here, which is pretty small, referring us back to another site. I'll tell you, anybody who makes apps, this kind of information for those of us who are IT support, this should be customizable. Powered by AASoft should be gone. If I'm buying your app or using it, I don't need to show my users your information. I want to show you mine. But that could be because it's an evaluation copy, and that's what we pay for that. But let's go ahead and see if I can't load that user guide that I copied the URL for. And this looks pretty thorough. It's got 5 pages. I'm not really going to go through it completely with you, but you can see it's got a pretty good user guide here showing people how to use the tools, some of the major features that are in there. Okay, so we're going to see this admin page, it looks like. So it's pulling the data from a SharePoint list. I didn't see that before, so I'm assuming this employees list and employees photo document library are hidden lists, which is fine. That makes sense, showing you how to do it. So this is a pretty good guide. So here on the licensing, it tells you that it's unlimited use for unlimited amount of time. That's handy if you're on the commercial side and you want to use that evaluation tool. I wouldn't, especially with it being evaluation. That's just really not production ready. But in the government side, you clearly can't use it unlimited because that's taking stuff for free, which is just against the FAR. So, okay, we're good to go on this user guide. You can look at it yourself later. I did want to go to this admin settings, and I can hear myself talking fast, and I'm okay with that because there's a lot to review, and I want to keep it in a small amount of time. You can make decisions pretty fast on whether you like it. So this is good. So we're at the page where I can adjust the theme. I'm assuming that's, okay, so that's the different colors. I don't know those numbers, though. I don't know, like, are you supposed to do it, or, oh, that's cool. So I can just click on the lines to be able to see it. And I'm going to hit save. Oh, okay, so when you hit save, it automatically takes you back. It didn't, like, it'd be nice to be able to save that and move on to the other settings before I came back. There is a bug here. I'll just mention this chart is not coming back the way it should. I've done this a couple of times now where in here I've had to type somebody's name and go back up. Okay, so we changed the colors to red, and you'll notice now the lines are red. That's cool. That's a cool little feature. Let's go ahead and go back in. The user properties. Okay, so these are the ones that we're displaying. Let's go ahead and get rid of stuff and see what it looks like there. I'm assuming I have to hit save again. And I'm back here. This is really interesting. It's a bug. I don't necessarily consider bugs concerns. I just consider them bugs because any developer who sees this, they're going to go, oh, all right, let me fix that really quick. There's a difference between that and concerns in the design, and that's when I would have a concern. So here I'm going to type David in one more time. He happens to be the only guy I keep remembering. And it displays the chart again. Oh, this is interesting. you'll notice I no longer have the ellipse. Service provisioning, that must be the departments. So it automatically has your title and your department, and if you want additional metadata, then it pops that ellipse up. Let me go look at that. So you got the picture, yep, the person's job title, and the department. Okay, and so they're stacked. You know, by the way, something else that'd be a useful feature is just to be able to order these things like you can in a SharePoint view. Just putting that out there for those folks. Anyways, I'm going to add one manager. Over here, you'll notice it doesn't say show print. Let's go ahead and click on that, and we'll hit save. And I'll show you two things I'm noticing. The first thing is it's got the print icon. That's really handy if you want to be able to let people print to their environment. And guess what? The chart didn't show up yet again. Come on, you guys are killing me. Okay, and there's the ellipse that expands it more. So here it's showing me their direct, oh, that's interesting. Okay, so it's just showing their boss. Let's go ahead and go back in the settings and look at the last couple of things. Zoom, that's like print. You can show those icons or not. SharePoint list, if we turn that off, it's just going to pull from the Active Directory or the user profile, I'm assuming. And this lab environment only has one user, me, so there's no point in showing you that. But let's go ahead and put in, oh, I see right here, this default employee is missing. I wonder if I can type in David Bryant. Let's see if the next time we go back, let's go ahead and try that. Maybe it was just because there was no default user on the, there it is. So it's not really a bug, it's a it's a feature. I'm not sure if I like that. I think if there's no default user, it should just show the, you know, the top dog on down, or the CEO on down. Clicking on this, let's go ahead and show what it looks like for managing employees. It's taking me into, okay, a SharePoint list, pretty standard. Go ahead and click add an item. Let's add Neil. I'm a tester. And can I add myself to David? Because he's the guy who's going to show up. Was it David Bryant? Let's see what we got. Okay, so when you're done here, you can click on OrgChart and it takes you right back. There's David, hey, and there's Neil. That was pretty easy for users to be able to create that OrgChart. Generally, there's probably only going to be one administrator of the OrgChart, so training would probably be 15 minutes, 30 minutes to train a user to use this, and it'd be good to go. Let me see if I missed anything else before we go out. Photos, nope, the rest of this looks good. It's looking like what we thought it would be. So the last part I want to just mention is I try not to be brutal. I want to be fast, I want to be candid, but I do want to be giving you some sort of review. And right now this app, OrgChart from AASoft, I give a thumbs down. And the reason primarily is because it's not ready for production. It's got some bugs in here that just need to be addressed, especially the ones with the sweep bar. When you put an app into my environment, I want it to come into, basically into the page is what us users or site admins think of it like, right? It becomes part of my site, and here it's just dominating my whole site. I go away from any page I might be on, and we can check later to see what it's like. In fact, I might do this really quick, just go to the home page and see what it's like to add, if I can add it as a web part. Let me edit this page. So I'm going to insert a web, an app part, and what was that guy called? Team org. So that's cloudless, ISO. These are interesting. So I'd be curious on whether that user guide actually says anything about this. Let's go check. And this is a demo, so I'm okay kind of bouncing around a little bit with you. I'm not really trying to do a lot beforehand because that just take too much time, but I can go through here as an admin and figure it out. So settings, where are you going to tell me I can add this as a web part anywhere? Populate. And sorry if the scroll's too fast, but I'm just scrolling down to see where it is. Here, by the way, it mentions when you turn off SharePoint, you can get the user profile as the place you want it to be. Okay, that's cool. They do have a video on it, so if you want to go watch that. So nowhere in here do they talk about a web part. So I'm assuming then that the web part is not an option for me to be able to put in there. So that's too bad. But anyways, coming back, I give it a thumbs down for the bugs that are in there primarily. And the other main reason is that I wouldn't want to give this to my users because it's kind of requiring them to go into the site, into the settings a little too much, and then having to go into manage employees. There's got to be an easier way to be able to just put that on the home page, on that chart, so you can do most of what you're doing on the chart. I would love to have a little plus sign on there that, you know, I can add somebody below Pamela, for example. There's certain ways to be able to do that you can just use the SharePoint object model to create it. But anyways, that's my review of that. I hope you found this review useful. Please provide me with feedback in the comments on how I can make this app showcase channel and reviews more useful to you. I'm your host, Neil McDonnell with SV MacPack. I thank you for joining me today and hope you'll join me again in future reviews.